Did I hear somebody? Oh, there you are again, friend and family. So glad you could stop on in today with us. And you might see, we're out and about on this early morning, Sunday, June the 5th, 2022 we are. And we're taking a look at our gardens and see how they're doing. Some have been in now, come this here particular day, 3 weeks now. And we've been planting a little bit here and a little bit there all along past 3 weeks. So hey, come on, if you'd like to, join up with me. Let's take a walk, see how things are doing here on our little piece of paradise in the deep south of Alabama. So here we are at the south side garden bed. If you've been with the channel for a while, you'll recognize it. It runs along the south side of the house and in between the house and the driveway. That's why we call it the south side garden bed. And some of this was planted on the 15th of May, which now puts it in its 3rd week. One of which was this here lunchbox pepper right here. And you're going to notice there is some discoloration on the leaves. Well, that was not a disease. That was nothing to concern yourselves about, or me. Well, for me it was, because I caused it. I actually came out here 2 weeks back and decided I was going to foliar feed my plants. Yep. And it was overcast. You know, well, partly cloudy, partly sunny. And I took a chance. I mixed up my foliar feed fertilizer and I put her down, which you put on the plants, and you shouldn't do in the blazing sunlight. Rule number 1, which I didn't. But soon after I did apply it, whoo, that sun came out and stayed out, burning down on these plants. And hence, what you're seeing right here is the aftermath. Yep. That fertilizer solution was a little bit, maybe it was a little bit on the strong side too, my bad. But when that sun came out, yeah, that's where this happened. Burnt some of the leaves, it did, right where the droplets were sitting on top of it. Well, that was 2 weeks ago, and they're recovering. You can see plenty of new blossoms about to form, new growth coming out of the crowns. Yep, you can see some flowers under there. And I'm thinking there's even some peppers here. Oh yeah, there's a small one right there. There's one that will be. There's a nice blossom right there. Ooh, look it down here. Right here. There's one. And there's another one. Now you might say, well, those are pretty small. Well, here again, this plant's just been in the ground. This is now its 3rd Sunday since it's been planted. And we got some peppers showing up. I'm going to have plenty more by the looks of it. Now, these are small peppers. These are snacking peppers. Yep, 1 or 2 bites and they're done. But they're ever so sweet, ever so crisp and delicious. So, look up lunchbox peppers. They're yummy. Now next, on that same Sunday, May the 15th, we planted this fine looking sweet banana. That here again we got from Super Foods. And we did the same darn thing. You know, we put that foliar fertilizer on there. A little bit strong, I may add. And then the blazing sunlight came out and it scorched these leaves as well. But it's recovering. It's got all kinds of new growth coming up there in the crown. I don't see any blossoms yet, but this particular plant was a little bit behind in development over that lunchbox. But I'm believing, since I'm seeing all that new growth, that there'll be plenty of peppers to come. And on that same Sunday, we planted these 3 Bonnie burpless bush cucumbers. Yeah, so it said on the tag. And we planted these in years past, and they've never turned out to be bush. At least not here on my piece of property. These are now up shoulder height. Yep, and they were put in on the 15th of May as well. You're going to see a lot of blossoms down here, mostly which are male. And I've seen people comment on other gardening channels, and even to me, "Mr. Tom, all I got is male flowers. What's going on?" Well, in the early stages of growth and development, your cucumbers are going to put out mostly male flowers. And if you think about it, that's for one purpose: to attract the pollinators, to get them stopping by before they start setting the female flowers. And I have witnessed that over time. Now we have a cucumber right there. See? A little one. And we have another one over here somewhere. Yep, we do. Trust me. They're small, so they're hiding. But so far, I've only seen 2 cucumbers. Yeah, right there's the second one. Tiny one, right there, see? So we got 2 out of 3 plants. Plenty of male flowers to get the pollinators to stop on by, because cucumbers require something like a wasp, honeybee, native bee, something to pollinate it, so you get a cucumber. But you see, I got a problem starting here. Yeah, I made up my netting to be just about nose high. We'll say about 5.5 feet, 5 foot 5 inches. And cucumbers about reach top. Plus, they're going to start growing into the shade cloth. So later today, after we're done reviewing our plants here, we're going to have to take the shade cloth down, extend the netting, which I weave myself, so they can continue their climb to the sky. The last time that we grew these, I think it was 2018, may have been 2019, over here in this bed, they reached all the way to the roof and came all the way back down to the ground over the growing season. And you can literally see that on my gardening videos, my walkabouts back during that year. Another thing we planted on that Sunday, the 15th, was this fine crookneck yellow squash. And it too has got signs of blossoms all along the stem there. And that's another thing, primarily in the beginning they will be all male, so don't worry, because that's what you're seeing. Give them a chance. And we've actually watered this morning, hence our watering can, and that's how I do it, unless I'm going to be gone. And then certain plots I have soaker hose laid in. Not all plots, because I'm a little short on soaker hose this season. Yep, and it's pricey. But over here, you'll see we got our stand of green beans. Well, there was a pile of them that came up. You've already seen how the germination rate. I put a lot of seed in this little place, and about 99.9% of it sprouted and came up. And you know, I'm just like y'all. It's hard to kill a seedling, isn't it? It's extremely hard for me. So I thought, well, I never have tried this, but I thought, how many bean plants can grow up a bean pole. For most of my life that I can remember, is one pole to one bean plant, maybe two bean plants on occasion. But here, I said, hey, what the heck? Instead of pulling them out and just having 1-2 bean plants per pole, let's see how many can actually live and flourish on a bean pole. That'd be good information for the future, wouldn't it? Well, you'd be right. And that's what we've done. On this first pole, there appears to be 3. On this here second one, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, 6 right there. Up that pole. This pole here appears to be 4. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 4 there on that one, and currently 4 on that one. Now, my worry has always been, will the vines growing over each other strangle the vines are growing over? I've always wondered. When I've grown 2 up pole, I have learned last few years they do just fine. This is sort of like going for the maximum. Anywhere from 4 to 6 vines up each pole. And we'll see as the season progresses. Was that a good idea? Or a bad idea? Who knows? You'll see it with me as the season progresses. But we've already got them up here, approaching nearly 4 foot high, 3 foot, well, 3 to 4. So this side of the shade cloth isn't long for this world either. And here we got a celebrity tomato that we stuck in here. It was the first one we planted out of the 6 starts, which actually had more than 6 plants in them. And we put this in on the 18th, the same day we put in the beans. And we even got a bean right there. I couldn't waste a pole, so I stuck another. You know, and these are the Kentucky Wonder rattlesnake pole bean cross that we've been growing right here on the home place now. Woo! What, this 4th season, 5th season? Yep, our very own bean. It crossed itself. But I'm seeing some concerning things on this tomato plant, and I'm going to show it to you right now. See those little black splotches? Yep. That ain't good. That means we've got disease forming in this plant. Yep. So I will be cutting off that leaf, but I will also be getting ready to treat my tomatoes. And once I see it, it's time to act. Most likely, that is blight. Not late blight, but early blight. And you might say right now, well, that tomato plant's finished. Well, you haven't watched Mr. Tom's gardening videos, because right here in this plot, I showed you last year not only how to treat blights, the torrid leaf spot, and many other tomato diseases that other people would have just tore their tomatoes on up out of the ground. And mine grew, flourished, and gave me fruit, tomatoes, all the way up through December. Yeah. And they definitely had blight on them. But we treated it, kept it at bay, and still got a harvest. It can be done if you know the secret. And I showed you the secret. Not only last year, but in years past. But hey, I'm just one little old man in the deep south, preaching against the minions of the millions that say, nah, can't be done. Well, you'd be surprised. And here, I've got a second yellow crookneck squash. Yep, I think I stuck that here last weekend. It's been in a pot. It's actually one I separated from the first one you saw. You know, I got a 2-in-1 pot. Yeah, if you can find those deals and get them separated, that's the way to go. But the best way to go, plant your own seeds. And here, stuck in this pot, in between Mrs. Carlisle's, irises, or my watermelon starts. Yep. There's about 6 or 7 watermelon seeds in there. And we'll let them sprout up. We'll separate. And we will start a watermelon patch this year. Yeah, those baby ones. What do they call them? Baby icebox ones? Yeah. And because I had seed, I got a pole. Yeah, just yesterday, I stuck some orphan bean seed around my TV antenna pole. Will it climb up the pole? Who knows? We'll all see. So this bed, in my mind, is doing darn good. The very first one we planted out and added to over the last 3 weeks. But let's go look at our second plant. Spooky, you chilling? How about you, Mr. Gray? You want to come do a garden walkabout? No? Okay, be that way. You gonna come with me, Spooky? I thought you would. Okay. Let's go up and check our clothesline pole plant. See how it's coming along. What do you say, guys? You up to it? Go. Let's go. Oh, but along the way, let's stop in and talk to Mrs. Fig. Now, last time I talked about this, I said I only had 2 figs. And at that particular time, it's all I had. One here and one here. You can see the size of them. See, for reference. Now, look what happened. You see right in there? Yep, another fig. Notice? It's quite a bit smaller than the 2 I just showed you. So that's an extra one. Right here is another extra one. A touch smaller. Over here, there's 2. One right here and a tiny one right there. So that gives us 4 more, right? Is that 4? Yeah. Here's another, slightly larger. That's the 5th one. Plus the 2 we already had. 7 total, 5 new ones. Nope, none there, none there. Oh, but here we go. Here's a 6th one. And see, the figs will come out here on the ends of your branches. So we got 6 new ones, 8 in total. But it don't stop. There's a 7th new one. The 8th new one. There's number 9. There's a tiny one making number 10. And for now, right now, that appears all there is. But hey, I was amazed when I actually noticed this. Yes, I was. Well, I'm seeing some more. I didn't look up high enough. There's another. That would make 11 total. There's 12, 13, 14. Note to self, look above your head. So yeah, we went from 2, well, basically 2 weeks ago when I showed you those 2 largest ones. And I searched the tree over and I couldn't find another pig. And it was just here a few days ago that I stopped at the pig. Well, I was mulching the pig, me and my helper there, Spooky, and we noticed a pig. Then we noticed another, and another, and another, and even since then, we've got more. Right, Spooky? Yeah, Spooky likes to help spread out the mulch. That's his contribution. And lay in it, check it for quality and comfiness. Yeah, so he tells me. Oh, I think that's Speedy up. They got fresh water in their bowl, and yeah, and there's Speedy drinking in the bird bowl. Not only drinking in it, but she's pretty much standing in it. So she might also be drinking and bathing. No, you're not? Okay. You my baby? Yep, you my baby. Aren't you? You my little princess. Papa loves you. So we've got our Speedy with us. And we've got Spooky. Oh. You coming, Mr. Gray? No, you're just going to bed down and clean up, do the morning cleanup under the shade. Okay. Didn't mean to, well, you know. Oh, and just for anybody who thought, you know, back on the 5th, I had my helpers help me, you know, prune this crepe myrtle. Yeah, it sort of looked weird. But I told you why I left those longer branches on. I was going to leave them until the crepe myrtle re-sprouted. And if you look real close, you'll see all kinds of brand new sprouts coming from the limbs that we trimmed off back on May the 5th. Yes, it does appear this ancient crepe myrtle will thrive again. Yeah, and who knows how old it is. Whew, you'd be hard pressed to find ones big around as this one. They're out there, but they're rare. They surely are. Bird feeders are all filled up. We did that yesterday. Of course, if you listen in the background, the birds are all happy. Oh yeah, and we got that fig tree, like I say, almost mulched up. We got a little bit left to go. But I think it was on the 18th or the 19th of this month, well, not this month, of May, that we started planting our maters up here at the old clothesline planting pole. Yep. Yep. Now look at them. From the ground up, they're approaching 2 feet. Looking super healthy. They are. And I'm seeing fruiting clusters starting to form, or what they call bracts of fruit, which will be the tomatoes. There's one, and there's another one right there. On the split over here, I don't see a fruiting bract starting yet, but I'm not seeing any disease of any type on these plants. They're just looking fine. And I showed you how we put these in. Yep. Underneath this here thick layer of mulch, which is now courtesy of Spooky, Mr. Gray, and Speedy, probably now 4 inches thick, compressed. Yep, the kitties like to lay on it. It's like a bed, but they don't seem to bother the plants. Now, as we tie these up, which they're getting close to having to do that, probably mid of this coming week, we'll put our first ties in. And we'll be using the Florida weave system. Been using that all the way back to my father introduced it to us all when I was a young lad, probably 9 or 10. Yeah. So 50 plus years, roughly. But these plants are looking beautiful. And like I told you about this mulch, it conserves moisture and it keeps my soil cool. Oh yeah, let's get down here. Yeah, you see that? If you could put your finger on it, it is cool, it is moist, it is lovely. And it ain't been watered this morning. No. Because that's how I check it. Tomatoes don't like standing in water. And that's one thing a lot of people do. They kill their plants with kindness. Overwatering being the #1 thing. #2, overfeeding. And #3, neglect. But yeah, if you count, there's 5 plantings of tomatoes here. But 3 of the plantings have twosies in them. So there's 6 individual plants. 2 of the holes only have a single. So there's actually 8 celebrity hybrid tomato plants. If they produce, which I'm thinking they will, we're going to have plenty of tomatoes. Yeah, we'll be putting them up in the freezer at the very least. Hey, maybe we'll make some sauce or stewed tomatoes. Now over on this side, as you well know, I think it was on the 19th, I put in these here beans. And this was some fairly old seed. Yep, it was from the 2019 growing season. And here again, this is my rattlesnake pole bean Kentucky Wonder Cross. Or Kentucky Wonder rattlesnake pole bean Kentucky Wonder Cross. Yeah, and you're going to learn some things here. You see, you're going to see some misshapen leaves. And that was from the get-go. Right when this thing popped out. You can see this one here. We'll come back and talk about it a little bit here later. Because it's got a couple things going on. But you're going to see there, those look normal. Those look normal. Normal. Deformed. Normal. Normal. Oh, and these are replants. The smaller ones are all replants. Here again, this was old seed. The bigger plants were the first planting. These, next largest, was second planting, where things didn't come up. And the tiny ones are where I stuck some in for a third planting. But you see here, in this first planting, how deformed, it almost looks like something ate on the leaves. But no, that's not the point. And that's not what happened. So why are those leaves so misshapen and look like they've been chomped on? Well, actually, it's because the seed was old. And it had started drying out. And as the bean gets below a certain moisture content and becomes really, really dry, yeah, that's what happens. It sprouted, but the part that was dried slap out. Yeah, that's what causes that. You can see a real severe case of it right here. And this also shows another thing. You see, there's no tip on it. Well, that isn't because something came by and ate it off. That's how it sprouted. This is called a blind seedling. And I showed you last year, I forget what it was, I think it was on a squash plant that was also blind, didn't have a stalk to grow off the center. And it never did nothing all year long. And I could leave this bean in there, and all throughout its life, it'll be just that until it dies. It'll produce nothing. See, got a nice root system, all nice and healthy. And that's something else to look at. That root is probably over 6 inches long. Look at that thing. And this gets back to proper watering. And something I see people do, they'll come out here, sprinkle some water on a few seconds and move on. You think you watering deep enough to give this here bean a drink? Think about that next time you're out. You know, spending a minute or two watering the garden. I've talked about this before. You gotta know how deep your roots go to know how long to water to do any good. Shallow watering, super bad. Deep watering, super good. Look into that. But anyway, this one's no good. But there's another one over here that I've let continue to grow, and he's right here. And we'll look down in the middle of him. Nope, no central stem. And see, there never was. You can't even see no sign of it whatsoever. This too was a blind seedling. And they happen from time to time. But in my experience, they tend to happen more with older seed stock. And with heirloom varieties. Yeah. And even though these are a cross, they're a cross between two heirloom varieties. Kentucky Wonder's an heirloom bean, and so is Rattlesnake. So even though it's baby, these are hybrid. Their parents were both heirloom. Anyway, just a little bit of that there agro science, in case you wanted to know. But that's the bean patch. So my second plant of beans, not as thick as the first. Remember, the first is an experiment. How many bean plants can grow up a pole and still survive and thrive? This is more of a traditional planting. One plant per pole. But over here on this side, our celebrities are looking fine. Got more fruiting bracts coming about. Yep. And this one's looking nice. Here again, I'm not seeing any of that black splotching on the stems or anything on these leaves. But I do know this. It's coming. Because yeah, it's in my ground. But as I've told you, it's in the air too. Starts in the deep south and heads your way. Yep, it ain't all about whether the plants are wet or dry. Yeah. I mean, which is impossible. Nature's way, or i.e. God's way, you plant, the rains come. Yeah. How do you keep them from getting wet then, folks? You ever think about these things? Yeah, I do. I don't worry if I get my leaves wet. And what if it rains at night? People all need to be dry for nighttime. Yeah. Well, here, it rains all through the late spring, summertime, and fall. Normally, from midday to late afternoon into the evening, making it rather impossible to make sure the leaves are always dry after a rain. So with much great thought and the hundreds of hours of research, I've come to the conclusion that whether the plants are wet or dry isn't so much of a issue as the prevalence of the disease in your area, in your soil and in your air. Yeah. Remember, funguses, which are your primary disease variant for tomatoes, as well as squash, peppers, and other things, it propagates from spores. Spores which are carried on the wind. Yeah, some more of that agri-science. Anyway, there's a little fruiting rock right there. And another one right up there. So far, I'm happy with the progress. But, yep, these will get their first treatment of my magic sauce sometimes about midweek. And y'all who've been with the channel, you know what the magic sauce is. But that's the old clothesline pole planting. We'll head to our third planting. Yeah, there's some of our throwaways from the fridge clean out, and yep, even Mr. Tom, no matter how hard he tries, some things go bad. Just one person. And I don't eat it in time. But I do have a friend here on the home place that eats a lot of it. I may capture him one time in the wee morning hours or in the evening. But if you watched our video about getting to the root of the problem over in the old raised bed, which is where we're at now, you'll know we planted this out in peppers, a single cherry tomato, and a zucchini squash plant for now. We also, over there in the area, in and around the Bonnie Green Bells, we broadcast seeded some parade bunching onions from Burpee. Yeah, they're green onions, or as I refer to them, spring onions. Of course, it's barely spring now. Climate-wise, it's summer. Time-wise, late spring. Anyway, we've got our 6 Bonnie Bells there. I'm seeing some blossoms start to form. There are things to note here. You can see right here some dead parts on the leaves. Here again, that is not disease. That was not paying attention, letting the plant dry out, and the sun scorching it. Yeah. Whew, glad I noticed it before it was too late. And got them watered and got them shaded till they recovered. And that was only in this here first row, because I planted it one day while talking to a friend, Reagan, down in Louisiana. Ran out of time and daylight. So the next day, I came and planted these other 3 Bonnie Green Bells. You'll notice no leaf scorching. It's because I'm staying on top of the water. But they're recovering, this first one, and you can see there's already one bell pepper blossom in there and another one starting to open. So I'm thinking they'll do just fine. In this row, we've got 2 of the Bonnie Gypsy sweet peppers. And they're just simply beautiful peppers. And they're very yummy. Super sweet, colorful, great for stuffing, stir fries, whatever. Making those there Philly cheese, yep, those 2. You know, cooked up with onions, making you a good cheesesteak. I'm here to tell you. But you can just see how loaded up with potential blossoms they are. And you can see one right there about to open. This one here's got a lot of blossoms forming up. This one here, not so much. It's got a few tiny buds. And the pepper over there on the far end, that's a lunchbox, orange. We'll look at it in a minute. The squash we put in yesterday, that's a zucchini. Looking fine. And of course, if you watched the video from yesterday, we planted this here black cherry tomato plant. I only need one, because if it produces, I'll have enough cherry tomatoes for Mr. Tom and about 3 other people. Easy. But that's also from Bonnie. And like I said, here's our another lunchbox. And it's got a nice pepper right there, forming up. Right there. Yeah, and it's supposed to be today 93. And it's about 10:30 at the moment. The birds are happy. I'm getting damp. Just this little bit of walking around and chit-chatting with you and bending up and down as we review our plants, which I'd recommend you do once or twice a day if you can. Yep, back when I was working, first thing I would do when I got home, didn't matter what time it was. Sometimes it was dark. Yep, or if I was working nights, sometimes it was turning light. First thing I'd do straight out of the car wouldn't be to come in and wake the wife and kids, give them a hug and a kiss, or go in and eat dinner, depending on my shift. It was to walk the gardens. Yeah, back then, we depended on them a whole lot more than what I depend on them now with just me. But I think I got the pepper market pretty much sewed up. Should have enough as well as tomatoes. Yep, in our old pot here, which has seen garlic chives in the past, and I thought everything had died. Well, it's still got a garlic chive hanging on right there. But I'm thinking we'll have to get a new pot. This one just ain't got, it may make it another season. I mean, you know, it's just cracked in various places. But we won't let the garlic chive die. It will survive and thrive. And over here, we got our old clay pot that we've had for, whew, I'm thinking, at least 25 years. And because of rain, snow, what have you, that we do get occasionally, some years. Yep, the top of it's broke off. And that bottom's still good. We cleaned it all up yesterday. And we're putting some thought as to what we want to put in here. Yeah, it's only one pot. We do got others. But I know a lot of you grow in pots. And hey, remember the corn, popcorn I grew in the pot last year? Yeah, turned out mighty good. Not a whole lot of popcorn in a little 6-inch pot. Just 4 small cobs of it. But hey, it worked. It was tasty. Oh, but we also have planted one other place. What'd you say there, Mr. Gray? You want to help? Well, come on, you can help. Yeah, you can help. You're big enough to help. And probably know more about it than I do. Right? Yeah. You my bestest old buddy, ain't you? Don't let Spooky hear you though. Okay? Now come on, Mr. Gray. Don't get under my feet. You're gonna trip me up. And that wouldn't be good. So we got to do the cat dance. So this is our for now, and I'll premise that with for now, our final planting. And these are 5 burpless hybrid cucumbers, not bush. They don't say bush. Not at all. Plus I noticed their leaves are slightly different shape than the burpless bush hybrids out in the south side driveway bed. So these are different. Are they a bush? I think not. But the others over there were supposed to be a bush, and they're vine. You never know. But I felt sorry for them. Seen them at Superfoods. They were sitting there looking lonely. And when I passed by, because I just dropped in to get some bread and some nanners and some Fantas. Yep, I snuck into Superfoods. And none of y'all were around at the time. Hey, don't hate me. Sometimes you just make a mad dash. And as I walked by the plants, because you know it's getting that time of year, planting's over. These 5 little buddies said, Mr. Tom, you got to take us home. Put us in the ground. We're dying. I couldn't help myself. I had to save them. And I do that every year as I see plants towards the end of the season. Even though I don't need them, my heart goes out to them. I got to bring them home. Such is the case here. Mr. Gray, I can't love on you all day, as you know. So we stuck them here. And on either end there, and there, we planted in some elite hybrid pickling cucumbers. Now the seed was rather old. If it comes up, it's a plus. If it don't, well, no loss. It'd be nice to have some pickling cucumbers. But hey, I know how to make these into pickles too. Just gotta know when to pick them. Ain't no different. Pickling cucumbers just make it easier. Yep. And I will say, they are bred and tend to be crunchier. When push come to shove, I can take a regular cucumber, picked at the right time, and make some fine pickles too. Just saying. So, that's all we got in right now. There's my little Speedy by her bird bath. The meadow of the yellow flowers, which I've been keeping these growing, and I'm going to show you why. If we can sneak up on them, you might be able to see him buzzing. He's a tiny thing, or her. But what you're seeing is a native honeybee, not the European ones that you see in all the boxes. That's a native, and her legs are just jam filled up with pollen. Yes, they are. We need her. I also saw a couple of pollinating wasps in the yellow flower here in the meadow. Here's another. Ever so small, tiny, native honeybee. They must be youngins. Their parents told them, hey, maybe Sunday, but you get your butts up, get out there, get to work, bring that pollen home. And I'm thinking. But yeah. So y'all, until I, Spooky Speedy, Cleo, Mr. Gray, Mr. Magoo, sometimes Heathcliff, and Elrod too, as well as Grace and Little Bit. See you on the next video. Y'all take care out there. Stay safe. And may God bless you as you bless others. Goodbye for now. Whew. Well, they're gone. Now, we can check the blueberries. I forgot to check the blueberries. Well, those are starting to ripen. Now, I did sneak one or two off of these yesterday. Are there more berries? Oh, 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 oh. Yes, there are. Right there. Oh, my friend and family get on to me if they seen me sneaking these off and not sharing. Hey, next time. Whoa, those are yummy. There's some more. Mmm. Oh. Almost fell. Look at all that. Oh, a whole cluster. Woo! Got a whole handful in one reach. Yeah, I'm gonna sit on the front porch and enjoy these. Spooky may want one. Never know. He's up here zonked out. Spooky, you want one? Or are you too tired? Yeah, midday siesta. Tuckered out. It's been a hard day. Or a hard morning in the gardens. Later all. Enjoy.